Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Linda, for that introduction. The participants, you already have had my name, and Terry Mungai, founder and CEO of Ashley's Kenya Limited. And I'm very honored and humbled to have this opportunity to share my story. Thank you, KEPSA. Thank you, Mastercard. I was brought up in Nakuru, so I come from Nakuru County, and I was brought up by a single parent, a very hard-working woman and a God-fearing woman. And from the beginning, I decided I wanted to emulate my mom and work hard. And how she made her ends meet is by doing business. So I was exposed to business from the word go. My working life after I finished school, again, started very humble. Beginning, I thought that I would finish school and land a big job, but I only managed to start in a milling factory as a packer, and where I had gone and hoping to be employed as a clerk. Those days, being a clerk was a big deal. But I ended up being in the factory, packed flour for some 3 months, and then I moved on and I landed a job as a sales girl in the then Kenya Farmers Association. And I was selling and serving farmers, selling all sorts of things that farmers buy, seeds, pesticides, and everything that goes with farming. And I didn't stay long because one of the clients, who was also a farmer, also was running an agency of an insurance company, then international, called American Life Insurance Company. And he approached me and said, I seem to have sales skills, and he thinks I can be able to do well in insurance. And I was hesitant because I had just been transferred to the data processing unit. Those days, that is what today you call IT, but then we call data processing unit, and I was working on shift. And then we struck a deal that I would go for lessons when I'm not at work. And within a week, I was confident that I could sell my first policy. When I started selling, he helped me sell a few policies. And by end of month, I managed to earn much more than I was earning in the full-time job at Kenya Farmers Association. So I got the courage to leave that employment and start selling insurance. The difference in selling insurance, those who know, is that you are paid by commission. You write your own paycheck. It's how hard you work that determines how much money you will earn. And this, being an international company, had many incentives and exposure and competition. So I excelled in ALICO and did very well. And that gave me an opportunity to start traveling outside of Nakuru town, come to Nairobi, then go to Nyeri with the referrals that I got from the people that I was able to serve. And the more I came to Nairobi, the more I loved it, and I joined and I moved from Nakuru and came to Nairobi. When I came to Nairobi, I realized there is more than selling insurance, and I landed my dream job, which I call my dream job because that was also my last employment. And this is with the Diners Club International, a prestigious company, because then that it was the only international card that was in Kenya. And I landed a job as a salesperson to sell cards. I remember at the interview, when I was being interviewed and being asked how I thought I could sell the cards, I just simply said, if you can sell insurance, there's nothing you cannot sell. And true enough, when I got that job, I excelled because it was so easy to sell plastic money. the kind of people I sold to are the same people that I had sold to insurance and CEO of companies who are also buying fuel cards for their executives and selling a team. Yeah, my lessons that far was having started in packing flour and also being a sales girl in the Farmers Association. What I learned is not where or how you start. It is the lessons that you learn along the way. Because the lessons that I took, the hard work from packing flour, the hard work from selling in the Farmers Association and Alico are the same the same lessons that took me to Diners Club International. The resilience, even selling and not knowing you don't have a salary at the end of the month, but it is how much work you put in that will make you have a paycheck. My dream job. I was at Diners for 8 years, and I rose from the rank of a sales executive to a marketing manager. I was the height of my successful career. Then one day, the job was no more. What happened is that Diners Club International directors bought into a bank then called Trade Bank. And of course, you know, banks are regulated by Central Bank of Kenya. Something went wrong with the Trade Bank and it affected Diners Club International. And what happened is that we were put under moratorium and both companies were affected. I'm sure people like Aisha, Sima, who are in the travel agency would also recall, also Diners owned Diners Travel. They were all affected. So from doing so well, we did not have jobs. While in Diners, because of the position I held, and this is a position of going to offices, seeing CEOs, and even chairmen of companies to decide whether they are going to buy the credit cards. One of the things that one had to do is be very well groomed. And being well groomed is not just how you dress, it's head to toe. Therefore, what did that mean? It meant that I visited salons at least a minimum of once a week. So when the Diners Club closed, because I was a frequent person into salons, I'll tell you that those days going to a salon was not what it is today. It is something you endured. First, there were very few, and very few professionals were available. So the place that you identified, you got stuck there. And that meant when you have an appointment, there was no appointment. You walked in, and when you needed to do a retouch, you went as early as 7 a.m. so that if you're lucky, you can leave by 2 p.m. for that retouch. And you had to endure the service because there wasn't much professionalism available then. So in my mind, I had thought I would work for Diners another 2-3 years, having worked there for 8 years. And I was thinking in another 3 years, I would save. And when I leave Diners, the business I would like to start will be a business in the grooming industry, that is cosmetology, because I had already identified there was a need, it was a niche that was not tapped. So only that the opportunity came before I was prepared. So what did that mean? It meant going to the bank and trying to get some capital to start the salon that I wanted to start. So first the devastation, then didn't dwell long in that state, and I just needed to move on. So I approached the banks. I went to the bank and asked for a facility. And lo and behold, all the banks I approached, they needed collateral. I didn't have one. And even then, as you registered a company then, as a woman, the form that you filled, you had to fill wife of so and so. Those were our days. We are talking about 1993. So I managed to convince a person who I had met as one of my networks, who I happened to know had a title document that was idle, and I hired the title document to be able to get a facility in the bank. And that is how Ashley's was born. And when we started the salon, we started it in the CBD, on Kimathi Street, executive salon, actually the first salon that was designed by an architect and a designer. So we spent quite a bit because I had a vision of how I wanted the salon to look and whom I was targeting, middle to upper income group, the executive that endured services, because grooming is a must, but how do you and where do you get groomed? So the salon was a hit from the word go. And we got an international award our second month of running the salon. So that really boosted our morale. With my selling skills and marketing skills, I knew what really needed to happen. First, customer service was key. It was not enough for you to have a technician who can do a retouch or a technician who can tongue hair. It is more about that. How do you make your client feel when they're in your premises? And I was a client, I was a consumer. So I was the first to enjoy the service, which I had not enjoyed. So if I was happy with the service, I knew the like of myself in the corporate world would enjoy the services. Marketing is a must, and you must spend. And everything that I didn't like in the places that I visited, I introduced. What I made dynastic, the customer service, I introduced in Ashley's. While I was trying on my networks, I kept my networks close. So even marketing one-on-one, calling my networks, I have started a salon, I know you go to this place, and they would come. Then came the challenge of getting the men to come into the salon. When I asked my networks to come into the salon, that I had some seats for them to be cut hair, the men said they cannot enter a salon. First, they were intimidated by dryers, which they were saying that big kofia that women sit under, and also talk very loudly to each other, because that is what they had seen. When that made me start a barber shop, I realized that for me to tap into the male market, I have to start an executive barber shop, which we did. As we moved on, the clients, because Ashley's became a house name, thank God. And many people who came, the men who came, the ladies who came, when people thought of doing business, men thought of starting businesses for their spouses. And so they wanted to start the business, but they did not want to put the hard work. We know our Kenyan way. We like copying. So people came and tried to copy. They wanted the business, which is okay. If a business is successful, you also want to be successful. It's okay to start a similar business. but it's also good to put the hard work. So that was not happening. They wanted to come. Some even came with their fundis to check out how they can copy the design. And also, they also poached the technicians. And they were easily poached because there were young people whom I had tried to mentor, because I took people who had the technical know-how, but retrained them on how to treat the customers and how to serve just more than doing the technical part. So that happened, and I became a training ground. Yeah, and I became very frustrated as I kept on training and training. Then I realized you should not waste pain. Torment that torments you. And I realized there's something more that I can do. And therefore, I started a school. Out of the pain, Ashley's Hair and Beauty Academy was birthed, because here I was training young people for free, and then they would move on. They would get poached. I realized, and of course, the people who poached them, we were not very friendly to one another, and we are in the same business. So I realized there's something they're admiring that I do. So I started the school. What did the school do? The school made sure I now trained my own from the beginning at the school, young people, trained them, the professional, the technology, the customer service, and even our tagline is, you can only be a professional when professionals train you. And this way we became a source for professionals in the industry. So the people who wanted to start salons did not need to come and shop at Ashley's outlets, but we could offer them the professionals we have trained. And even if they poached from our outlets, we were okay, because whoever left or whoever leaves creates an opportunity for the graduates that are coming out of the school. Resilience and association, which I had many people mention. For you to be able to be resilient, you have to continually find out the needs of your customers. Reinvent yourself all the time. You cannot relax, and you have to have a budget for marketing. You have to have brand association. And how did we do that? We made sure we collaborated with the TV stations, Tasker Project Fame, Slim Possible to grow the brand. And we made sure, and while we are at it, we also got the franchise for Mr. and Miss World Kenya. And it became, every time Ashley's was not left behind. If it's in the newspapers, we made sure Pulse was then the magazine of the day. We made sure we are grooming the models. We made sure we appear, because you get more mileage by association, and that grows the brand, as opposed to going to the newspaper and just putting an ad. That is what I learned along the way. And then the growth. Our second branch, we did not grow because we were ready. We just realized that clients were not coming as often. I said customer service is key at Ashley. So from the word go, we took contacts of our clients and followed up to know when is their next appointment. And so if Linda did not show up, we called her to find out why she hadn't been. If Daniel did not show up, we did the same. And we realized clients are not coming as often. So when we checked to find out why, is because they had moved their offices from CBD to Westlands. Yeah, at that time, there was exodus from CBD to Westlands because CBD had become congested, and with the congestion, there was no parking, so companies moved. So quickly we realized if we had to survive, we needed to follow our clients. So we quickly found premises at the mall Westlands. Then it was the mall, that is why it was called the mall. And we moved there and we started our second branch. And that did well as well. And since Westlands was becoming a hub of business center, we also moved on and started an Ashley's at Westgate. So when Westgate came into town, it came by storm. Still is most prestigious mall, a boutique mall that is classy, and we got in there. And that is how the business kicked. Westgate just became very successful for us. And 4 years later, in 2013, the worst happened. And there was a bomb blast, the terrorist attack. And I was out of the country for Miss World. I was in Malaysia. And of course, you remember it was a Saturday, the 21st, very devastating. I'm there representing my country with Miss Kenya, and this happens. So my first thought was to call and find out how my people were, my staff, whom are very dear to me. And we thank God that none of them died. We had 3 that were hurt, and not so badly hurt. Only one had been affected the foot by, and she became well, but 2 were hospitalized, and within 2 weeks they were out. But that meant our bread and butter was normal. And what did we do? I'm away, I'm out of the country, and I have to think. I had 40 employees at Westgate in our salon. These are people who work on commission. What happens to them? And they were devastated. So quickly, I moved on from devastation and now thought, what next? I'm still in Malaysia. So I gave up my office, which was also at the mall, and we quickly turned into a salon. Unfortunately, we had a barber shop at the mall as well. Remember, we moved there, we already had another salon. So we put in a second salon because my people at Westgate said they would make sure the clients came. So quickly, we made a makeshift salon and we continued. The thing is, you need to have a relationship with your clients, because coming from Westgate, an air-conditioned mall, and bringing people to a basement at the mall without air conditioning, and I'm telling you, clients 70, we retained 70% of our clients, and the staff continued to work. While I was still in Malaysia, I contacted the Lavington Mall. Before I left, they had been trying to convince me to take up space in Lavington Mall. I wasn't sure that I was ready, but now I'm the one who called them all the way from Malaysia and told them we are taking the space. So we managed to get the space. I came back and we started working on the space. And 6 months later, we moved to Lavington Mall. We moved the Ashley's, the Westgate staff to Ashley's at the mall. What does that say? That when disaster happens, like it has happened with COVID, you don't do a pity party. There's no time for pity party. And especially if you have people depending on you. You dust yourself up and start again. And we did start again and had Lavington Mall. And 2 years later, we moved back to Westgate, and we moved back bigger, better, actually 10 times bigger space. And that was offered to us by the owner of the mall, because he thought he had seen the resilience and he thought we can do better. And simply because of the support I also offered to them when we had meetings with other tenants who are affected, people were so bitter and they were taking their anger on the owners of the mall. And yet they were also victims. And I also happened to voice that. And for that, it's cemented our relationship with the owners. So what does that tell you? Manage your relationships. Relationships with your staff, because your staff are your raw material. Landlords, because they can offer you, they can have faith in you, even faith you don't have. I have found out especially how important it is to have good relationships with your landlord, specifically during this time of COVID, because we have approached them and they have given us rebates on our on rents. Relationships with your bankers, also very important, because without your bankers, without your landlords, without your staff, your networks, clients that believe in you, you cannot survive. And we have found out it's been hard, it's been challenging, but we have survived. The growth of Ashley's actually became evident when we started the school. Remember, we did not now have to hustle for workers. And also what made the school, which is now the backbone of Ashley's, is because there is synergy. We train, and also why people come to Ashley's to train is because we guarantee jobs. For us to be able to keep our promises, we have to grow. So the school grows and we also grow. Currently, we have 14 outlets. We are in 3 counties, Nakuru, my hometown, Mombasa, and Nairobi, and 4 campuses. And we continue, and COVID is what has actually interrupted our growth. We have 400 staff members and 400 plus staff members and 4 campuses. And how did we manage? How have we managed to stay afloat during COVID? I will not lie to you, we were also devastated yet again, because on 15th of March last year, we had to close our doors, because with kind of a business that we run is personal contact. And that time, not much was known about the protocols that need to be applied. So we closed our doors again with 400 staff, livelihoods, not knowing what we are going to do. And for 26 years, because we've been in business for 26 years, we had never closed our doors, because we operate 7 days a week. Yeah, we are always open, but we had to close. And in 2 months, we only opened after 2 months, the staged opening. We did that because we had to be sure if clients would still come, and we had to manage our expenses. Our expenses with the stage opening did away with things that did not have to luxuries like Wi-Fi, DSTV, came back with a skeleton staff, opening and making sure that we are able to survive, because of course there was reduced clientele. We started off with 30% the first month when we started, then went to 40% slowly until we opened all the 14 branches. And this was only possible because of also having a support team. Remember, COVID came with challenges and came with new names. Some of us were given a new name and we were called vulnerables. Yeah, and the president and the ministry and the CS of health said some of us should stay at home. So luckily, we have a good team. We have a HR department, accounts department, operations director, and my son Brian, who is the business development director, having done his master's in the UK, and I had already started mentoring him. So he took over, and thank God that he took over, because with my empathy to my employees, whom I feel like they are my children, it would have been very hard for me to choose who comes back to work and who doesn't come. Only Brian could have done that, because he professionally, not emotional. And he made that successful. We were able to come back to work full-time. The school, after 9 months, that was the hardest part for us. So the road has not been easy, but we thank God that this far he has brought us. So the secret is just to be resilient, yeah, and continue offering quality service. And for us to ensure and keep reminding and showing our clients that we care about them and we comply, we go over and above to comply with the MOH protocols so that they come and feel safe. What did that mean? It means that we imported spray guns, sanitizing machines. We went over and above so that our clients can feel comfortable and they can continue coming. That is how we have survived. So I think that is what I can tell you. We have survived. We are surviving because we are still in COVID. Again, the lockdown that just happened in April, again, really affected us. But I thank God that for last year, our landlords, our bankers were very understanding, and they gave us rebates, we got moratoriums, and we are here because of the relationships that we have formed along the way. So keep your relationships close, make sure your clients love you, your clients do not go elsewhere because you care about them and they see, and you continue to care about them. I would also say, where I mentioned about having staff to take over when I could not be there physically. The Bible talks about stewardship, and stewardship encompasses continuity and handovers. It is very important for even your bankers to know that if you're not there, your company will not collapse. It's very important for your landlords to know that you are not one-man show, that this is a company that will survive. Grow the brand, not just a business, make it a brand. Thank you.